Hello friends, in this video we will discover the top 10 richest countries in North America. Using the latest 2025 IMF estimates, North America reveals a fascinating split screen when it comes to GDP per capita. Towering continental economies on one side and nimble Caribbean and Central American states on the other, each prospering in very different ways. Kindly hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon before we start this video about the 10 richest countries in North America. Now let's dig deeper into each of the top 10 richest countries in North America. Number 10. St. Lucia, $28,840.00 GDP per capita. Now mainly a service hub, St. Lucia earns about 2/3 of its output from tourism and a growing offshore banking niche. More than 900,000 visitors a year support hotels, yachting, retail, and transport, pushing services to 84% of GDP and delivering the foreign exchange that underpins the EC dollar peg, EC $2.70 equals $1.00. Small but diverse light manufacturing plants, beverages, corrugated boxes, and electronics add another 13%, giving the island the broadest industrial base in the Eastern Caribbean. Agriculture, once dominated by bananas, now contributes barely 3% of GDP yet still provides a fifth of all jobs. Output is shifting from bananas, 13,700 t exported in 2018, to higher value cocoa, mango, and avocado. While livestock and dairy schemes aim at import substitution, investment-friendly fiscal incentives, reliable telecoms, and an educated workforce continue to attract foreign firms, though structural unemployment hovers near 15%. Modest GDP growth of 3 to 4% a year keeps the island in the upper tier of Caribbean incomes for 2025. Number 9. Dominican Republic, $30,875.00 GDP per capita. Thanks to a decade of near-constant expansion, the Dominican Republic enters 2025 with a GDP per capita, PPP, of roughly $31,000, 0 cents USD, the highest in the Caribbean and closing on the North American high-income threshold. Growth has averaged 5–6% since 2010 and is projected to lift real output 79% during the 2010s. Mining, anchored by Pueblo Viejo, Latin America's largest gold mine, now rivals tourism as a forex generator. Free trader zone clusters, manufacturing medical devices, electrical parts, and pharmaceuticals ship $6 billion, 0 cents USD a year, while booming nearshore BPO and telecom services deepen diversification. Tourism still earns more than $7 billion, 0 cents USD annually, from 6 million visitors and a 70,000-room hotel base. Agriculture remains vital at 5% of GDP, with avocados, cocoa, and bananas prominent. Remittances, $8 billion, 0 cents USD, in 2024, underpinned domestic consumption and small business formation. Robust FDI, $2.5 billion, 0 cents USD a year, and a broad energy transition to gas, coal, and renewables support momentum, although public debt hovers near 59% of GDP over the coming years. Number 8. Costa Rica, $31,463.00 GDP per capita. Costa Rica enters 2025 with an estimated GDP per capita, PPP, of $31,463.00, placing it among North America's richer mid-size economies. After shifting from coffee and bananas to a diversified service and high-tech export model, 3/4 of output now comes from tourism, shared services, and medical development manufacturing, clustered in Freetown. Flagship investors such as Intel, Abbott, and Amazon anchor a sophisticated corporate service sector that employs 3% of the workforce and helps keep real GDP growth near 3% despite the drag of a 9–10% jobless rate. Ecotourism remains a powerful foreign exchange earner, leveraging the country's 25% protected land network and 98% renewable electricity mix. Agriculture still supplies pineapples, coffee, and beef, but only 5% of GDP. macroeconomic stability, low single-digit inflation, and a free-loafing colon is tempered by a public debt stock above 70% of GDP and pressure on transport infrastructure, prompting gradual fiscal reforms and public paval investment drives to sustain long-term inclusive growth prospects. Number 7. Antigua and Barbuda. $31,781.00 GDP per capita. Antigua and Barbuda is the 7th richest country in North America. Tourism dominates the service-led economy, directly and indirectly generating well over half of output and foreign exchange. Cruise ship calls to St. John's and high-end stays on the northwest coast supply the largest revenue stream. A stable East Caribbean dollar peg, proximity to the United States, source of 1/3 of visitors, and an attractive citizenship by investment program, sustain hotel construction and yachting marinas, while an offshore financial center and expanding telecoms hub add diversification. Manufacturing and agriculture remain small, hindered by scarce water and labor, but enclave plants export bedding, electronics, and rum. Successive hurricanes since the 1990s have exposed infrastructure vulnerabilities, prompting fresh investment in resilient resorts, desalination, and renewable power. Assuming steady U.S. growth and no major storms, Antigua and Barbuda is set to maintain high living standards and moderate tourism-led GDP growth through mid-decade. Number 6. St. Kitts and Nevis. $34,002.00 GDP per capita. After shuttering loss-making sugar estates in 2005, St. Kitts and Nevis pivoted to a three-pillar model. Tourism, light manufacturing, and offshore financial services now generate 70% of output and the bulk of foreign exchange. Cruise ship and stayover arrivals, supplemented by a thriving citizenship by investment program, anchor the visitor sector, while electronics and garment plants in Bisatera's industrial parks supply most merchandise export. Membership in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union provides a stable EC dollar, but external shocks loom large. Hurricanes in 1998-99 and COVID-19 underscored the economy's exposure to climate and travel cycles. Government strategy focuses on revenue collection, food import substitution, and telecom liberalization to broaden the base. With low unemployment, solid foreign reserves, and expanding hotel stock, St. Kitts and Nevis maintains high living standards despite its narrow resource base and microstate vulnerabilities. Number 5. Trinidad and Tobago. $36,018.00 GDP per capita. Trinidad and Tobago ranks 5th on North America's 2025 wealth. The Twin Island Republic is unique in the English-speaking Caribbean for its export-oriented industrial economy built on abundant offshore oil and, especially, natural gas reserves. Energy and downstream petrochemicals provide about 40% of GDP, 80% of exports, and a steady trade surplus, while massive LNG, ammonia, and methanol complexes make the country a top global supplier. Hydrocarbon windfalls have financed good infrastructure, a sophisticated banking sector, and Latin America's third highest income level, although the industry employs under 5% of workers and leaves the budget exposed to price swings. Policy now targets diversification into aluminum, plastics, creative industries, and tourism, and strengthening Port of Spain's role as a regional financial hub. If gas output rises as planned, growth near 2% should keep Trinidad and Tobago firmly in the high-income bracket for years ahead. Number 4. The Bahamas. $38,830.00 GDP per capita. The Bahamas enters North America's 2025 wealth table in 4th place. Tourism is the undisputed engine. Visitor spending, resort construction, and cruise ship traffic together generate just over half of output and employ one Bahamian in 2. A dollar-pegged currency and English-speaking workforce have also nurtured an offshore financial center, about 15% of GDP, though stricter tax transparency standards have trimmed licenses lately. Beyond hotels and finance, the archipelago's economy is thin. Agriculture, fishing, and light industry add barely 10%, and imports supply 80% of food, and vulnerable to supply disruptions. A zero-gum tax regime, funded largely by a 12% VAT and tourism levies, keeps the fiscal burden low but leaves public coffers exposed to external shocks, especially swings in U.S. visitor demand, hurricanes, and climate risk. Even so, political stability, high per capita wealth, and ongoing resort investment anchor the Bahamas among the region's richest economies. Number 3. Panama. $43,840.00 GDP per capita. Panama claims North America's third highest living standards slot for 2025. The isthmus leverages geography and full dollarization to run a service-heavy, outward-looking economy. Finance, insurance, medical tourism, and the world-class colon-free trade zone collectively generate roughly 80% of output, while the expanded Panama Canal and 5 container megaports anchor a regional logistics hub that connects Atlantic and Pacific trade lanes. Construction and real estate booms, fueled by foreign investment and canal toll revenues, have kept growth near 5% even after the pandemic shock. Diversified light manufacturing, cement, beverages, aircraft parts, and niche agro-exports like bananas, shrimp, and coffee round out the mix. Conservative banking regulation and low inflation safeguard macro stability, earning investment-grade debt. Yet prosperity remains uneven. Rural and indigenous provinces face poverty rates triple the urban average, and income inequality is the second widest in Latin America, tempering Panama's headline wealth story today. Number 2. Canada. $65,707.00 GDP per capita. Canada secures the Notice 2 spot in North America's 2025 wealth rankings with an IMF estimated GDP per capita (PPP) of $65,707.00. A highly diversified, export-oriented mixed economy, the 9th largest worldwide by nominal output, Canada marries abundant natural resources with world-class services. Oil sands, hydropower, and critical minerals make it a rare net energy exporter, while the prairies feed global grain markets and Ontario, Quebec, anchor a sophisticated auto, aerospace, and technology corridor. Trade remains the growth engine. Merchandise and services flows exceeded $2 trillion USD in 2024, with the United States absorbing 3/4 of exports and 15 free trader pacts opening 50 other markets. Low corruption, strong institutions, cooperative banking, and an efficient social security net underpin stability. Toronto's stock exchange, the world's 10th largest, channels investment. Despite housing affordability strains and middling productivity, steady immigration, competitive innovation clusters, and responsible fiscal management keep Canada firmly positioned among the continent's high consummates leaders heading into the latter half of the decade. Number 1. United States. $89,105.00 GDP per capita. The United States tops North America's 2025 Wealth League with an IMF projected GDP per capita (PPP) of about $89,000.00. Its prosperity rests on a diversified, high-productivity mixed economy that blends cutting-edge technology, finance, and creative industries with vast energy and agricultural assets. The U.S. accounts for 1/4 of global nominal output. Its dollar underpins international reserves and trade, reinforcing access to capital. Competitive advantages include world-class universities, a dynamic venture capital ecosystem, and the globe's largest consumer market, which fuels 68% of GDP. Robust transport and logistics networks support the region's leading export platform, while large domestic oil and gas production keep energy costs low. However, the country pairs exceptional average incomes with one of the developed world's widest inequality gaps, and a rising public debt burden. Even so, steady growth, flexible labor markets, and continual innovation keep the United States firmly at the pinnacle of North American living standards. So, which are your favorite countries among the top 10 richest countries in North America? Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click the subscribe button so you can receive more content like this. Post your favorite countries among the top 10 richest countries in North America in the comments below. I'd love to read them, and I'm sure others would too.